Wow, what an amazing film. Father stars Hwang Jung-min from New World, Blades of Blood, Young Jin-kim from Lost, and also the great character actor Dal-su. This movie is phenomenal. I saw this at the cinema last night here in Brisbane, at Event Cinemas. Sometimes they play these movies at the cinema, which is fantastic, and I'd like to thank them for doing so because I get a chance to see them on the big screen. So the movie's about the life of a man, the life of an ordinary Korean man. It starts off in the 50s with the Korean War. He and his family, his siblings, and his mother and father, they are fleeing North Korea, and obviously the Americans are there because Korean War has a lot of history with the Americans, and they manage to get onto one of the American naval boats and flee. While climbing up into the ship, the young boy has his sister on his back and she falls off into the icy water, never to be seen again. His father leaves him in charge, says, "You are now head of the family. You have to take care of everyone, your mother, your other siblings," and the father goes off to find the daughter. The movie's told presently, and then we get flashbacks basically throughout this guy's entire life. It's very similar to Forrest Gump. When Forrest Gump, he was sitting at the park bench, and then he was just telling his story and we got to see his life unfold. This is very similar. In my opinion, this is a way better movie than Forrest Gump. Not to take anything away from Forrest Gump, it's a good film, but this I felt was more engaging, and there was not a dry eye in the house. This movie is very emotional, extremely emotional. There were guys, I was the only white guy in the audience. It was full of Australian Koreans, and there was, the kind of guys that try to be all tough and they sit there, and there was this one guy who was across from me. He was he had his muscles and he was sitting there trying to be all tough man, and that guy was crying like a baby the entire movie. And nothing against him, because if you watch this film and don't cry, I think there's something wrong with you, because it tugs at every heartstring, and it does so successfully. And the reason why is because the characters are endearing, they're lovable, likable, and even though I have no connection to Korean history, I have no idea what people of that generation who went through the Korean War, what they went through, their families went through, losing siblings, and just everything about it. I have no connection, okay? Being a white Australian, I don't know. I know a little about the history, but I think anyone can watch this movie and relate to it because it's just so well made, and the acting is superb. Hwang Jung-min gives a phenomenal performance, and I'm filming this the day of the Oscars, and this movie wasn't nominated for anything, which I think is a crime in itself, to be honest, because the acting's incredible. With the Oscars, they don't care about foreign movies. They really don't. They only care about their own, which, what can you do about that? But another thing, this movie's only got 60% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that baffles me. I don't know if these people watch the same movie, and I've read a few reviews where professional reviews. Obviously, I'm not in the same canon as them, but they say that this movie's, it's right wing, it's got an agenda, and I don't think it does. I just think it seems to me, and I've read interviews with the director, he just wanted to make a movie out of respect for his father and the people that went through war and what they did for the country, and that's all this movie is. It's not, it has no agenda. It's just a really great film. And also the makeup in this movie is great. Like, Hwang Jung-min plays at this stage, like 2014, the movie came out. So he is, I'm guessing, meant to be in like his 70s, and he just plays the character so well. You actually believe, it reminded me of my grandfather, really, to be honest. It's like he just pulls it off so well, and then they kind of de-age him for when he's a young guy. He wants to his dream is to become a captain of a vessel. Like, I think obviously what happened to him when he was a young boy really affected him, and he wanted to, go on to being in, the shipping industry and being a captain of a ship. And he gives that dream up to put his younger brother through university. We also see him go to get the money to support his family. He goes to Germany and he becomes a miner, and he spends all this time and he goes through all these things with his friend played by Dal-su, and they just go through so much shit together. And when he's in Germany, he meets this beautiful Korean woman played by Kim, and she's great in this movie as well. They age her and they de-age her, and it goes back and forth, and she puts in a spectacular performance. And those two have such great chemistry. There's not a moment in this movie where you don't believe that they are a genuine couple, even when they're old, when they're young, when they're courting each other. It's just so great. If you want kind of an abridged version of Korean history and you're interested in just, what the country went through and what it has become now, South Korea, then I highly recommend this film. If you like movies like Forrest Gump, definitely check this out. The performances are just utterly spectacular. I cried constantly throughout this film. There's this one part towards the end of the film. I don't want to spoil this movie because I want people to see it, especially people like me. If you're just you're from another culture and you just really love Asian cinema, then this is the perfect film to kind of get a history lesson, really. There's this one scene towards the end in the last final act of the film which is just heartbreaking, and it just had everybody in my cinema in tears. If you can see this movie at the cinema, please do. It's definitely worth checking out on the big screen. I don't really want to say any more because it's just, you have to see it. It's spectacular.